Gotta get to this text. 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 Church, we're in Genesis. We're in Genesis chapter 27. This is a story of Jacob and Esau. There's a quick run into this story. What happens is, in this particular scripture, Isaac is married to Rebekah. And what happens is, Isaac impregnates his wife. And when he impregnates her, she's pregnant with twins. Church, understand that when these twins were born, Esau is the one that first came out. And Esau, from birth, he was hairy. And when Jacob came out, he came out holding the heel of his elder brother Esau. He was smooth-skinned. And so, church, it lets us know as he grew up, these two twins, they interacted with one another. And church, the thing I would love to submit on this morning is that family, we thank God for family because family is the first example of how to interact with people. Church, sociologically, psychologists would suggest that there are 12 personalities that all people have. There are at least 12 personalities in this world that you will continually run into. Don't think it's a mistake because Jesus, he in fact had 12 disciples, which means there were 12 men with 12 different mindsets, and psychologists suggest that there are 12 different personalities. And church, I would like to submit that the personalities that you run into, you first run into them with your family. Every personality that you will ever have interaction with, you first find them in your family. Have you ever had a friend or saw somebody or knew somebody that you met and you said, you remind me of somebody? Well, subconsciously, you have already met that particular personality. It has a different face and different name, but same spirit, which means that you're running into the same kinds of people. Church, this is what psychologists deem it as. They deem it as behaviorism. Let the church say behaviorism. Behaviorism is the study of interaction and action with other people. It's human interaction and action with other people. So church, watch this. Esau and Jacob, they're interacting and they live and they grow up. Understand that when Isaac had these children, he was 60 years old, which means that these men are now grown, which means that Isaac is really, really super duper old and he's blind as a bat. And watch what happens. He calls out Esau. He says, Esau, what I want you to do, I want you to go out into the field. And when you go out into the field, find a deer and kill it. And don't just kill it, bring it back to the house and prepare a meal, give me the bowl, serve it to me, and then I'll bless you. Church, what Esau does, he goes ahead and does what his father tells him to do. But watch this. On the other side of the door, Rebekah was listening to the whole conversation. And what Rebekah does, Rebekah says this. She goes and gets Jacob. And what she says to Jacob, Jacob, your father has told Esau that if he goes and gets a meal, he will bless him. So what I want you to do, I want you to go out on the side of the house, go out into the field and get 2 goats. I want you to go get 2 goats, and I want you to kill the goat, and I want you to prepare this meal and serve it to your father as the alias of Esau. What Jacob does, he says, Mama, hold up. Watch this, because Esau, he's a hairy man. I told you that in the beginning of the message. He's a hairy man, and I don't have any facial hair. I'm not hairy at all. So he'll know that I'm not Esau. And so the mother says, look, don't worry about the details. I'm going to handle it. Just do what I tell you to do. And so what happens is he does what she tells him to do. And what the text says that after they kill the goat, what she does, she skins the goat, and she takes the hair of the goat and places the hair of the goat on Jacob's hand, on his neck, on his face, and then goes to the room, gets Esau's coat and puts Esau's coat on Jacob so that he would smell like his brother Esau. And so what happened, he prepares the meal and then presents it to his father, and then he is blessed. Now, church, this is a story of deception. Church, this is a story of trickery. And church, I would submit this question. What do you do when the folk close to you trick you? What do you do? How do you handle life when the folk that are closely connected are the ones that deceive you and hurt you? Church, that's the story. Now let me tell you what we don't see. I have a question on this morning. My question is, why did Jacob do what he did? Church, I'm trying to figure out, why did Jacob do what he did? Church, I got 3 points. First point is this. He did what he did because of, number one, poor parenting. He did what he did because of poor parenting. Church, you have to understand, in verse 20, in chapter 25, when these twins were born, the text says as they grew up and matured, the text says that Isaac began to have a love for Esau, because Esau was a man of the field. He worked well with his hands, while on the other end, Rebekah loved Jacob because he was the one that was quiet, meek, and stayed in the house, which means that there was an element of favoritism. There was an element of favorites. Family psychologist Dr. Phil, he suggests this. He says whenever there is favoritism present between parents, there is always division amongst siblings. And so, church, I would submit that Jacob, he says, why in the world am I not my daddy's favorite? He loves Esau more than he loves me. And check the psychology of Jacob. He could have been wondering, why in the world is Esau treated so differently? What's wrong with me? Is it because I'm not as strong as him? He's asking himself, is it because I'm not as athletic as he is? Is it because I don't work well with my hands, but I know how to cook a meal and take care of my home? But there's something about Esau, because watch this, every time in that tradition, every time the father of any household in that day and time would bless someone, he would always bless the oldest sibling. No matter what the situation was, whenever he gave the first blessing, he always blessed the first sibling, which means that this younger brother, Jacob, was always overlooked. So, church, he does what he does because of poor parenting. Church, number two, he does what he does because he thinks he can get away with it. Church, he does what he does because he thinks he can get away with it. Understand what happened. He says to his mother, "Mother, I'm not as hairy. I don't have a beard or anything like that. My hands, I'm not as hairy as my brother Esau." And so the mother, she conjures up this idea. And so what happens is he takes the skin of the goat and puts the hair of the goat on his hands, and puts the hair of the goat on his face, and puts the hair of the goat on his neck. And then he even goes so far to put on Esau's coat in order to smell like him. And then he goes to his father and presents the food. And church, Isaac is blind and he hollers out for Esau. He says, "Esau, is that you?" Jacob says, "Yes, it's me." "Esau, is it you?" Jacob says, "Yeah, it's me." And so he presents the food. And so he says, Isaac says, hold up. Come here a little bit closer. Because remember, he's blind, which means he has to use his other 4 senses. And so, church, what he does, he says, "Let me feel you. And so he touches his hand and he feels hair. He touches his neck and he feels hair. He touches his face and he feels hair. And then Isaac goes so far and he says, if you're Esau, come give me a kiss. And as Jacob nudged in to give him a kiss, Isaac began to smell Jacob. And he said, Isaac, he says with his deductive reasoning, he said, you feel like Esau. You smell like Esau, but you sound like Jacob.